9. Hazardous material prevention. Many naval activities, most significant quantities of hazardous material by rail. Placards such as explosive class 1 common occurrences, and employees shall constantly strive to avoid being complacent, taking shortcuts that create dangerous situations of dealing with these types of shipment. Derailment installation commanders shall current list of cars or trains of respective locations and their contents and is maintained. In the accident that occurs in type of location of all hazardous material will be known. Any derailment and of any accident involving hazardous material shall be reported immediately to the railroad dispatcher, and immediately shall step taken event to evacuate personnel or the area. Emergency response and notification of hazardous material accident. The railroad dispatcher shall notify the appropriate installation personnel and instruct and crew as to how to follow use of placards. Placards show the identity of the nature of the commodity of the car. Crew members shall conversely within the meaning and various placard designation of see Figure 3.7 and for graphics for the various placards described below. In a moving standing training in a car below placard, radioactive shall be placed next to each one. Next to any other loaded placard other than the placard combustible as a locomotive occupied by caboose. A carload undeveloped and a carload placed for radioactive and may be replaced by to each other. If moving and standing close to the train, loaded placard, the other placard is combustible and should be placed next to any placard explosive class 1 radioactive or poisonous gas, a locomotive occupied or caboose. Extremely class 1. 1.1 is this item is a placard that is applicable a violent explosion with subject to fire, strong impact, and shock. The material of fire and attempting to extinguish the fire is not recommended. If fire is not present, every effort must be prevent fire to keep from explosives from coming up and connecting with other chemicals, and recommendation evacuation distance for explosive class 1 involved in fire is 1 mile. Explosive class 1.3 items, placards carrying burnable rapidly but suddenly violently rupturable containers involved in fires are virtually imbustible, extinguishable material when fire has stated invented recommendation evacuation distance 1.5 miles. While not on fire, class 1 explosives shall be protected and struck and crushed and exposed for containing corrosion material. Dangerous is the placard aerating materials, mixed loads, and certain hazardous materials. Aerating materials immediately trailing dangerous materials that given off intensely aerating flames of explosion and contact with fire, although noxious, irritating, and infectious, are usually temporary. Blasting agents, items that are made blank placards subject to explosion when involved in fire, although their impact and friction may not cause an explosion. The material itself, if is on fire, attempting to put it out of the fire is not recommended. Every effort that should prevent the material from becoming involved from recommended evacuation distance material is on the fire is 1.5 mile from and that is poisonous gases, zone A, items that are placarded, gases and liquids that are highly toxic, vapors released in containers, vapors A, and fatal, inhaled, absorbed through the skin, or vapor is colorless, odorless, and are expected to leak and shall be investigated, protective specialists. In event for the fire or leak, evacuation of a half-mile radius recommendation given to the weather and location of amount of material spill. Chlorine, items that are placed in non-flammable gas with properties of poison gas. The greenish-yellow vapors are highly toxic, tend to hug the ground, and if the material is leaking out in the fire, consider the evacuation distance 1.5 mile. Poison items, if the placard are liquid, solid, semi-solids, although dangerous and poisonous gas, solid, still toxic. Humans when inhaled, observed the skin, though ingested, eaten, or suspectedly, shall be investigated by protective specialists. All others evacuated immediately. Area area. If a material is on fire, contact the most be avoided. The radioactive material, if placard or material with radioactive items with a placard of material emitting ionizing radiation that is hazardous. The radiation is invisible and cannot be felt and cannot be detected or specialized equipment. In the event of the suspected leak or rupture, container personnel should evacuate for several hundred yards until the area is surveyed and specialists. The flammable gas, if the placard is often immediately in breach of container. If ignition does not immediately occur, the vapor will often flow in with until the ignition such is required. A flashback can occur in ignition entire gas cloud. A leak of ignition which extinguished unless it can be stopped. The tanks contain flammable and explosive flame in pigment. Intense heat of rupture violently proceduring large fireball hurling fragments and container up to 1.5 mile, up to container up 1.5 mile or more. This is the reaction. The tank taken in consideration during the evacuation distance. The maintenance may also be toxic, irritating, or sufficient displacement of oxygen for frostbite injuries that contact with the liquid. Flammable liquids. With placards, flammable liquids will give off vapors as less than 100 degrees Fahrenheit with ignitable on contact ignition sources. These vapors, usually heavier than air, they will all flow over low-lying areas such as ditches and ravines. Action shall be taken to ignition source away from the areas of vapor concentration. Contact and increased materials and can cause ignition shall be prevented. Flammable solids, items that have been placed in placard materials there cause fires, self-ignitions, and spontaneous combustion conditions as being exposed and being crushed, coming up in contact with corrosive oxidizing materials outside ignition sources. When operated, fires shall be fought in with wet and dirt and sand, kept flammable solid isolated from other hazardous. Spontaneous combustibility in items that are placards are less dangerous with flammable due to higher flash points. However, leak spills, fires shall be handled in the same manner as flammable liquids. Corrosive items which have the placard acid can causatic in liquid solids and from which are visible and irreversible to human tissue, serve as corrosion of steel in addition to contact with materials that are flammable. Oxidizers and exploders that may cause violent reactions and fires. Possible spills shall be contained and protected. Neutral of spilled in, accomplished and trained and special, but using appropriate materials. Spills of corrosive materials may produce large quantities of fumes and with no may be toxic, cause dry skins of root respiratory damages. Person coming in contact with corrosive materials should wash immediately with water about 15 minutes, then contact ignition. Oxidizers with a placard yield oxygen will greatly accelerate burn, eventually spill. Materials must allow to contact combustibility. Flammable materials, corrosive materials, organic materials, what can be used in firefight and available involving little oxidizers. Wet dirt sand should be used for fires involving solid oxidizers. Organic peroxides, items that are placarded are so strong or oxidation agents in it when heated in strong shock. Oxidation peroxides are decomposed rapidly, explosively force, and decompose rapidly in explosive force. Carefully, most taken a contaminant organic peroxide by other chemicals or violently chemical reactions can occur. Oxygen. Items that placard refer to liquid oxygen is to come into contact with combustible oxidizing material results in combustions or explosives. sources of the ignition sparks and plaques, impacts, friction, sudden shocks, and should be prevented in spill area contact with the liquid. It cannot and be served frostbite. Non-reflammable item is the placard, the area gas insufficient to placing the toxic irritating contact and liquidating frostbite injuries, containers exploding, impregnant, and intense heat may be ruptured violently, hurling inflammatories. Great distance and evacuation distance of a half-mile recommended. That's the 3.17 example of the hazardous materials warning cards. And Section 4 skill areas. 1. Job description. Locomotive engineer. The duties of locomotive engineer will include observing